Hello students, in today's video we'll be discussing pastries, and this is a very exciting topic, and specifically we're going to focus on their ingredients and their functions along with their ratios when you're making the pastry. So the flour, I know we already talked about this, but the flour is used to make the structure of the pastry, and it's very important. So think about when almost like a foundation, when you're making a home, you need the cement along with other ingredients like water to help bind it together and make a structure. Okay. Another thing is, before you are preparing your dish, you should make sure that your flour is dry and fresh. And in order to have a very successful pastry, you should sift the flour to remove any lumps and to add air. The purpose of adding air to the pastry is so that it can rise. Now, different from cakes and what's not, leavening agents or rising agents are added to the batter. Now with flour, air helps the now with pastry, air helps the pastry to rise. Air is the rising agent that helps the pastry to become a little bit puffy, and it happens because of steam in the oven. Okay. Another thing, liquid. When we are making pastries, we must ensure that our liquids are ice cold. This is used to make the pastry dough, and it keeps the fat from melting during the mixing process. And the function of this is to just help it to develop gluten and also to add moisture and hold the dough together. So see, we had the flour, like the cement, and now we're adding the water to help bind everything together. Okay. Another thing, we have the fat. Examples of this include margarine, it includes butter or shortening, and this helps to produce flavor and texture, and it helps to add flakiness. So if you've ever looked at a croissant or if you've ever eaten a croissant, you see all those layers. The more fat you add, it helps it to be more flaky and adds more layers. Now, soot. This is a substitute. So soot. This is a substitute for margarine or butter or any fat that you may use, right? And I know we talked about it today, soot. The reason why it's called soot pastry is because it uses the substitute of fat when making the pastry, okay? And this fat is made from animals. This fat is taken from animals like cows and sheep, okay? The ratios. So these are the ratios used when making a pastry. And with these ratios or these measurements, this is going to help you to come up with a successful pastry dish, okay? So for the short crust pastry, we will need half fat to flour. So half of the fat according to the amount of flour needed, okay? So let's say we have 4 cups of flour, we would need 2 cups of fat in order to satisfy the ratio, in order for it to have the consistency that it needs, all right, as we can see here. So we see here that we have 2 ounces of shortening or 2 ounces of butter and 8 ounces of flour. Okay, so moving right along, then we have the flaky pastry, and this uses 3/4 cups of fat to flour, which means that for every cup of flour we would use 3/4 cups of fat. All right, and it also in other words, you can use 3 ounces of shortening or 3 ounces of butter or margarine along with 8 ounces of flour, and then we have 8 tablespoons of water. And then we have the choux pastry, and this requires equal amounts of fat to flour. So if I use 1 cup of fat, I would use 1 cup of flour. And we see the example here, 2 ounces of fat and 2 ounces of flour. Now, what you would notice about this one is that it includes less water, and they also added an egg. So this is the pastry that adds egg. And before I end, I just want to say a little fun fact. Not all pastries are made using cold ingredients. And there is one kind of pastry, and I want you all to look that up for me, okay? And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you back in class. Bye.